For more on this, we're now being joined by Dr. Robert Edwin Kelly, who is an American political analyst on inter-Korean affairs and is also professor at the Department of Political Science at the Pusan National University. Thank you so much for joining us on WION, Professor.
Thank you for having me.
Right, now North Korea has launched what Tokyo says is a ballistic missile. How do you assess this move by North Korea, and how do you see this impact the already tense situation in the region?
Yeah, I think that the North Koreans are responding in kind to what the Americans and South Koreans are doing. I think the North Koreans have thought for a while that if they could get into space in a more meaningful way, that it would help with guidance for their missiles, for example, and would help with intelligence. There's also sort of a debate about whether or not the North Koreans are actually covering up for basically just traditional missile testing with these things, that they're actually not really a satellite, that the North Koreans are actually trying to sort of gather data for missile launches, given that their own military is increasingly based around missiles. But I mean, it's sort of a piece, as you said, it's sort of a piece of the tension between the two sides. You know, I worry at some point that, you know, we might actually shoot one of these things down, right? We know the Japanese have hinted that if these things fly into Japanese airspace, they might do that, and then you might have sort of a spark that leads to escalation.
Right, Professor. Would it be feasible to say that North Korea has the technology for a spy satellite of some sorts?
I would like to say no, but my sense is the North Koreans have often surprised us, right? I mean, North Korea looks like a fairly dilapidated third world economy on the outside. I've actually been in North Korea, and it really is sort of, when you leave the cities, it really is sort of a mess. The infrastructure quality really falls off. But the North Koreans have surprised us a lot over the years with their ability to generate, as you said, sort of modern technology. The North Koreans have a pretty good nuclear weapons, at least reasonably decent nuclear weapons at this point, from what we know, and they've also really advanced the missile program, right, of which this is almost certainly a part. And so my sense is, yeah, actually the North Koreans probably have developed the technology, or they've bought it. We know the North Koreans have participated in black market schemes in the past. So I wouldn't be surprised if the North Koreans actually really do intend to do what they're saying they're doing, because they have surprised us in the past with their technological leaps, yes.
Right, my last question to you, Professor. What kind of defense preparations can be expected from Seoul and Japan, keeping in mind how Washington has clearly warned and said that the latest launch raises tensions in the region?
Yeah, I think the big question coming up is, at what point will the North Koreans launch so many missiles, right, and if one of those missiles goes off course or something like that, that Japan and or South Korea feel it's worth trying to shoot them down? I mean, that's sort of the big concern, right? And how would the North Koreans respond? On the other hand, you know, missile defense is actually pretty important for South Korea and Japan. If there's ever actually a conflict between North Korea and its neighbors, right, the North Korean conventional military is pretty out of date, right? The big North Korean striking capability is missiles, and so missile defense is a big deal, right? We'd like to find a way to sort of slow these tests, and there has been a debate floating around for at least 10, 12 years about whether or not we should actually try to shoot one of these things down. You know, would missile defense work? How would the North Koreans respond? But I think at some point that's probably going to happen. I mean, the North Korean missile testing is now so regular that I would assume at some point they're going to scare Japan and or South Korea enough that she'll get a response.
Thank you so much for joining us, Professor, and sharing your insights with us on this. Thanks very much.
Thank you for having me.